Hello everybody, Marcos Villegas here with Bob Arum, where this weekend Vasiliy Lomachenko will take on Miguel Marriaga on ESPN. And Bob, you've had nothing but high praise for Lomachenko, and rightfully so. I think his skills pass the eye test. You could see he's something special. You mentioned at the press conference that you feel he's the best fighter you've seen since Ali. I know you've explained that to many people, but what do you see in there that makes him so special and makes you say that? Because that's a big statement. When people hear that, they're like, wow.
Well, he is an incredible defensive fighter. He has great footwork, great balance, great judge of distance. There are other great defensive fighters that we've seen, like Floyd Mayweather. But most defensive fighters, almost all of them, are wonderful on defense. They throw enough punches to win rounds, and they coast to decisions. Nothing wrong with that. What makes Lomachenko different is he is a great defensive specialist, but while he is doing that, he is multitasking, and he is figuring out his opponent, and he is hypnotizing his opponent, because he's always looking to take his opponent out, to close the show by destroying the opponent. And when you watch him, he has that second dimension, which makes him a lot more than a great defensive fighter. He's also an offensive wizard. And that combination makes him the best fighter I've seen since Ali.
It's very rare to see a fighter that's so good when they fight someone, an elite level guy. He demoralizes them so much that he makes them want to quit, and that's what happened in the Walters fight. And I think when I saw that, I was kind of like, wow, okay, like that's something, because Walters was no joke. He was the top of that division.
Or Sosa. Yeah. Sosa was a good fighter. They're all good fighters, Marty. This guy is really, really special. And hopefully, over the years, now that we have this ESPN deal, and where he has the opportunity to fight 3 or 4 times a year, you're going to see Lomachenko the way you deserve to see him. You know, and it would be the biggest possible audience, ESPN. It'll be free to the people, because it's not only the number of people that watch it in homes on ESPN, it's the millions of people that are watching in bars and restaurants. You know, every bar that you go into has a television set,
and it's on ESPN.
And that's on ESPN. And when they said when Pacquiao and Horn fought, they were 30, 60 people packed into bars watching it. Now, HBO and Showtime, it's not shown on in bars and restaurants unless they pay a very large fee, and a lot of them can't afford it, right? So this is a great, great opportunity to really bring the sport of boxing back to the people and grow the sport.
You having promoted for so long, and I know you guys had a Top Rank series on ESPN many, many years ago. How do you see the current landscape? Because you're starting to see boxing now more accessible. You're seeing it on Fox, on FS1, on CBS, and now with you guys on ESPN. So what would you say of the state of boxing at this point?
Well, the state of boxing right now is still deplorable, because the ESPN series we're doing they're treating boxing like a major sport. And they're paying for it, and it's not a time buy, and they're getting behind it, and the buzz that they do on the fight. Like tomorrow, I'm doing 8 programs starting at 6:30 in the morning on ESPN. Every one of their major programs. Well, that builds an audience. Now, you know, nothing against Fox and FS1, but that's a time buy. And they're not really invested in boxing like they are, for example, in UFC, which is not a time buy. So really, you're really limited as far as who pays for boxing to the two premium networks. And there you get the same problem. It's not their fault, but they have smaller audiences, and it's not shown in bars and public entertainment.
No, I've said that to many people, that I think that having boxing on free terrestrial television, it's only going to help the sport because of what you're mentioning. It makes it more accessible, because I get friends tell me, oh, I don't got HBO Showtime, I don't got this channel, I don't got that channel, I got to stream it.
Or people, it's a Saturday night, and people want to go out and have a good time. They don't want to necessarily sit home and watch a fight. Now they don't have to sit home and watch a fight. They can go to their bar and restaurant and watch it there.
I didn't think of that, but that's why you're the boss, and I'm just, doing the interviews here. We mentioned Manny. How's he doing since the horn loss? Have you spoken to him?
Yeah, he's doing okay. He's really invested in politics. He last weekend he was in the area in the Philippines in Mindanao, southern Mindanao, where they had they're having a war there against ISIS, and he went and visited.
Yeah, I saw him in military fatigues and all that.
And there were bombs exploding all around. So what he's trying to do now is to get me a time frame where he can participate in the rematch. And once I have that, I'll solidify a venue and go ahead. Hopefully it'll be sometime in November.
You being there at the fight, did you notice anything odd about Manny, or did he not look the same, or do you think it's just Horn was on him, Horn put a lot of pressure, and it's just a younger guy, when he does that to a smaller fighter, it's going to happen?
Tell you the truth, I couldn't tell, but it was not a vintage Manny Pacquiao performance, and it may be that, it didn't seem like he was being helped by the corner. The guy was bulldogging him, and he really had no answer for it.
Do you think, given that his responsibilities are getting more and more, and this performance, that if the rematch does happen, that probably will be the last time we see him?
You never can tell with Manny, but I would say that we're nearing the end.
Yeah. There was a fight that happened over the weekend. I'm just kind of curious, because you promoted Mikey. What did you think of Broner? Because I know Lomachenko is being thrown in there as a potential opponent for Mikey, and something that fans would be interested in seeing.
Well, Broner is a guy who was at one time a real hot prospect, and I think his skills have eroded as his lifestyle has spiraled out of control. That being said, Garcia did what he had to win the fight, but I don't give him great props for that, because he did nothing to destroy his opponent. I thought in boxing, that's what you should do. It's not just winning in points. That's good, winning is better than losing. But you have to give a performance. Like, look at Lomachenko. He outboxes his opponent and shows the opponent can't hit him, but he's always looking for a way to destroy the opponent. That makes a good fighter a great fighter. Mikey is a good fighter, but he is not a great fighter.
So in terms of how they would match up, do you think then that it would be a fight that's doable and that you would like to see, or based on what you said, you're not too sure yet?
Well, I think the problem is that Mikey has crazy notions about what the fight is worth and what he's worth, and it's totally unrealistic. So sure, he'd like to fight Lomachenko, he'd like to fight Crawford, but ask him when he says that how much he wants to fight either of those guys, and then come back to me. It's all well and good to say, hey, I want to fight Anthony Joshua. And then you ask the heavyweight, well, will you fight him for X hundreds of thousands? And they said, no, I want millions. Well, do you really want to fight him, or,
You mentioned Crawford as well. He has a fight coming up against Julius Indongo, something that I'm looking forward to. It's a good fight. What do you make of that matchup, seeing that Indongo has gotten upset after upset recently in his last few fights?
It's a very, very good fight, you know. That's why it'll do extraordinary. That's why it's practically sold out in Nebraska, at the University of Nebraska. It's a terrific fight, but I think Crawford is one of the rising stars in boxing, and I think he can handle Indongo. But it is a fight. It's a very, very good fight.
Indongo has a tricky style too. It's weird. It's hard to time him when you see there, because you think a punch is coming and then it comes out of nowhere. Not like Manny, but Manny did have that factor where you just didn't know where those punches were coming from.
Well, Crawford is a very intelligent fighter, so I think Terrence can handle that. But it's a fight. It's a very competitive fight.
You mentioned Klitschko on stage. He announced his retirement. What do you make of the career that he had, the legacy he leaves behind, and what do you make of him not going through with the rematch against Joshua?
Well, I just think that Wladimir had an extraordinary career. He was a champion in and out of the ring. He was a real credit to the sport. I like him very much, both as a fighter and as a person. And I think he'll do extraordinarily well whatever he chooses to do now, whether it's go into politics like his brother or do something else. He's a very intelligent young man, and I think at his age, if he kept boxing, there would be a danger that he might, suffer some brain damage. So I applaud the fact that he's retired, and I wish him well, and I just want to thank him for the contribution that he made to this sport of boxing.
Certainly, I think that's a sentiment that's going to be shared to a lot of boxing fans. Bob, as always, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Good seeing you. Of course, this Saturday on ESPN, Vasiliy Lomachenko takes on Miguel Mariaga here in Los Angeles.